like there's some dance steps you don't do very well. So it would be really good for you to practice those, isolated from the whole choreography of the piece. Let's just isolate that aspect because you've got troubles doing pirouettes, I don't know, right? So because pirouettes are in this composition, and every time you do it, you fall off center. So why in the world am I going to put you in this choreography if you can't do the pirouette? So we're going to go off to the studio on the side and we're going to work on your pirouettes. That's what the brain gym is about. So one is the degree of change, that's coordination. One is the complexity of change, that's flexibility. The third is endurance, stamina, the rate of change. Right? I mean, I'll go back to you because you're falling asleep anyway, right? If you're playing a tune and you can play the tune down tempo, that's fine. But it's like, okay, come on, let's take it up 2. And you're playing exactly the same signals, but at a faster rate, and all of a sudden you can't get there. Well, wait a minute, it's the same degree of change, it's the same degree of complexity. What's different? The rate of change. It's like, like the dance step. I can do the dance perfectly well if we do it slowly. Now let's pick it up. Let's go from foundation to intermediate. Same step, same dance, same music, just a little faster. And all of a sudden, it's like, no, come on, let's do it again. Because something happens because you're not skilled in that fundamental rate change. You can't process brain signaling that fast.
I have that problem with scales.
Scales. That's why Segovia, to his dying day, he did his scales every day. And they say, why? You're the master. Segovia is a classical guitar player. The master, they say. And he said, because everything I do is built on the scales. He says, if I can continue to do my scales with the degree of change, rate of change, and the complexity I'm reversing, he says that means I can do any composition.
I just kind of just rediscovered that because I stopped doing scales and I'm more involved in
He's a musician.
And words and rhythm.
Yes.
But then as I started doing voice lessons and basic scales again, it taught me. If you don't use it, you lose it, dude. Yeah, but that's what happens, and it's the foundation of it all.
It's the foundation.
So you're telling me I've got to study algebra so that I can take trig, so that I can learn celestial navigation, but I'm bored in algebra and trig. So, and I'm not just making a joke.
Yes.
There are new theories of learning in classrooms that you motivate by application.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a potential for clients to be bored? You've already indicated there's potential that, like, I don't want to do the brain gym, I want to do the fun stuff.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So give them a chocolate, meaning go into the brain skills and reward them.
So the new PT catchphrase is regress to progress.
Well, this is learning theory is always evolving. And neuroplasticity gives us another potential perspective on that. Is it too dark back here? Are you okay? Do you want light? Okay. I don't know because I'm looking here and it's dark before. Anyway, tomorrow after we go through the brain skills, I said the first half of the day is brain skills, second half is putting it all together in practicality. And that insight, which is accurate, would be good material for those discussions. Right? Because what I'm doing right now is presenting it kind of as pure process or pure theory, guidelines. And once you've got the rules, then you have to learn how to break them. So we'll do that. The last one is strength. And that involves the intensity of the signal. If it was translated over into sound, it would be volume. So we start at low volume, middle volume, higher volume. In the case here, we're working primarily integrating the two, but with light. Because you'll notice, if you've experienced, that within a composition, there are different degrees of light intensity. And some of the sessions, like the one you had, was meant to stimulate mental energy. And as a consequence, there were faster rate changes, and also there were jumps in intensity, so sometimes the brightness was quite significant. Because we were it's not the brain gym. I did a brain skills session for her. She said she hadn't had much sleep. She sort of like pooped. She came in late because she slept late, but here she is. She wants to participate. So I said, okay, I'm going to choose a brain skills session for help right now. This is not going to give you long-term benefit, but it's going to help you over the next few hours to be here, to be alert, and to participate. So I chose a session that had those characteristics. I have the sense, that neuroception, that she could tolerate that she could hang in, because if a person can't tolerate the stimulation, and you guys would understand this from the other experience, what happens is the person checks out. If the stimulation gets too demanding, if the neuroplastic capacity is less than the neuroplastic demand, if the demand is here and the capacity is here, what happens is this whole class of inhibitor nerves in the brain flip on, and basically you check out. It's kind of like going to sleep, but it's not sleep. The inhibitors say, this is too much excitation, the demand is too great, we can't integrate this. There's no way that I can use this for learning. What I'm going to do is just go bye-bye.
It's a protective denial.
It's a protective mechanism. You know, it's turning. You turn off perception so that you can tolerate the state, and then at the end you wake up, but you weren't asleep, because it may have nothing to do with sleep states, delta, nothing. You can be in high beta, and sometimes the high beta states are actually the ones where the people turn the switches off. Because it's, when you look at their neuroplastic capacity in terms of coordination, degree of change, flexibility, complexity in change, third, the endurance, the rate of change, and fourth, the strength, the degree of intensity, their brain is not able to stay awake and aware and attentive in this signal set. So what happens is it protects itself by the inhibitors all turning on, so you just check out. And you have no idea when it happened, and you kind of come out of it at the end. It's like, wow, was that 1 minute or an hour, or what was that? So the brain gym is extremely beneficial for anybody that has had challenge in their life and they're coming out of challenge, anybody that has had pathology and they're through recovery, or anybody, basically, in my opinion, anybody over 40, you're going to find some use. Obviously, if they're 40 to 50-ish something, then the requirements are not going to be nearly as significant as those that are 55, 65, or even older than that. For the people that need it the most, and I'll say advanced age with challenge, maybe, cognition is diminishing, memory, all these kinds of things, I tell you, it's the easiest stuff to work with, because it's mostly all brain food and foundation brain gym, and that's the only signaling that their brain can integrate. You can throw all kinds of stuff at them, but it won't stick on the wall. As a matter of fact, it can be stressful. They can end up agitated, because it's like, I can't do that. And they may not say it, but if you put them on a treadmill, they walk in like this, and you put them on a treadmill, well, what do you think is going to happen? Suddenly they're going to burst into a run. No, they're going to have a hard time. They're going to grab the edge and slide off and maybe sprain their ankle. I'm making slightly an exaggeration because for brain signaling, basically what happens is they just check out. And remember, for neuroplastic change, what's the number one fundamental requirement?
Attention.
Attention. No attention, no neuroplastic influence. So you got to think about that, you know? You got to think about that. Because you can use devices like this for what I call the thrill. This is the thrill of it all. But I'm a lot more interested in skills than thrills. I like thrills. Who doesn't? And you can generate thrills with this device. Big time. And the thing is that the thrills have a vector. The thrills move in a particular direction. They're not non-vectorial, meaning they're not, throw spaghetti against the wall and see what you get. They move in a direction, so that's really cool. I mean, you can move it in a direction of a person going deep, 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 deeper than they've ever been before and still aware. Or you can take them higher and higher and higher, right? Remember her last night, right? The mind bliss. You can take them higher and higher and higher and still be aware. The thing is that you can thrill them. It's what I call the wow factor. In the website, in the level 1 learning, or level 2, I forget, there's a document called the wow sessions. And if you just want to wow somebody, impress them, there's a whole bunch of sessions there that'll do it. In different ways, but they're all there. Of course, they're in the brain skills. Sometimes you need to wow them. Convince them, this is really impressive. That's good. If you want to, or sometimes it's just the interest of fun, entertainment, exploration. Nothing wrong with fun. It's good to have fun. But the overall gift of this is using neuroplastic potential for benefit in wellness, so that you can move towards a more total state of brain wellness, that as you need to do what you do, which might be just get up and go to work every day. The biggest challenge for a lot of us is the first 5 minutes, because feeling, attitude, mood, what I got to do. If all you're interested in is thrills, welcome to Cirque du Soleil. It's all there. But purposeful, you can use that towards something. In the meanwhile, you've got to appreciate the brain gym. You've got to appreciate that if you're working towards benefit, and what you want are not necessarily thrills but skills, the skills rely on these fundamental signal responses in the brain. So if that brain can't coordinate past a little bit, then that's what the life is going to be. Their life is going to close in, and they're going to be able to expose themselves to a very limited signal set, meaning where they go, what they do, who they're with. I'm sorry, that's the truth. I repeated this many times. I didn't say it today. Some of you heard it. I'll say it because it's worth reflection. You know what I'm talking about if you've heard it. Statistically, in industrialized nations right now, U.S. being one of them, life expectancy is getting greater and greater, longer and longer. Right? There's a very good chance that most of us will live at least to 80, if not beyond, regardless of gender. Statistically right now, there is a 50-50 chance that if you are 80 years old, that you'll have a form of senile dementia or Alzheimer's. 50-50 chance. I usually ask before I say this, do you want to live a long life? Most everybody says, yeah, I want to live long. And 80 isn't especially long anymore. 80 seems about reasonable in most people's minds. Right now, statistically, it's like, happy birthday, here's a coin, flip it. Heads, you're okay. Tails, you're demented with Alzheimer's. That's not a real rosy thought. I mean, 50-50 chance is like 50-50. You know, you don't get a break. It's like right in the middle. The good news is that we can do something about it in a purposeful way. Work with neuroplasticity, because the brain will change until the day you die. It's capable of functional or synaptic or neuronal or systemic neuroplastic change. We're not using 10% of our brain. We've got 100%. And when brain cells die, that's because other ones can grow. And the synaptic pattern. So, shoot. I mean, you know, you got to swing a chance here, because, you know, I don't think anybody here is 80. So, but I'm 67. It used to sound old. 80 sounds like just kind of getting there now. So, I use the Neurolite. I'm a person like everybody else, in my own ways. Now I'm beginning to use the brain skills more. For a couple of months, it was brain food and brain gym, foundation level coordination, and a couple of others. That's what I did. Why? Because that's what I need. That's what I need. I mean, you know, put me in an aerobics class. I mean, it better be the beginner's class. I can tell you that. Right?
Right.
So why do I think my brain is so different? My brain is physical. What's happening to my soma is happening to my brain. So, you know, don't be stupid and be humble. It seems to me in life there's like two choices. Either you're humble or you get humbled. Right? So, okay, you understand that the brain gym is important. It's especially important for people that need it a lot. And if you look around the room, you could probably easily guess right now who could use, you know, a few weeks to a couple of months of regular brain food and brain gym stimulation. You know, 80% of us here, you know, I'd say. You know, some of us can get away with it. I mean, you know, you look better than me, so probably, you know, not so much. But, you know, the thing is, why I call the first level foundational is not just because it's a nicer word, but the idea is that the foundation, like your scales, they always serve you. Beginner sounds like where you start, but then you leave it. But it's not like that. These are so fundamental. They are really at the foundation of what your brain does. All right? So, you know, in practice, when you go into the brain gym, as far as foundation, intermediate, and advanced, it's going to be very rare that you use advanced. Sometimes I wonder why I put it, but then when I was doing testing and asking people, everybody wants, it's like in the time thing, 11 minutes, 22 minutes, 33 minutes. Don't use 33, it's too much. But somebody says, oh, you don't have 33. Like, well, okay, now I do.
So
Right.
would that be the wow factor of the foundation then?
No, it's
not.
it's the composition elements that create the wow. It's not, I mean, if it's a lousy movie and it's 3 hours long, there's nothing wow about that. Right? But you can have like a 30-second Super Bowl commercial that wows you.
All right.
So it's the nature of the signaling that's the wow, not the time. Yes, sir.
With the different levels, let's say you have someone, and I know you like to stay away from medical, but with pathologies,
Yes.
and they need everything,
Mm-hmm.
all at foundation. Do you just break it up into small chunks, or do you try to fit, everything, small bits of everything?
What's your answer?
Yes.
Yes, what?
It depends.
It depends. I mean, I would
Try to achieve the most while doing the least. All right? Some of you have known me from the past. I ended up just like, it's all bumper stickers to me. Right? Simple things done well work well. I would like to be cremated, but if I was buried, put that on my tombstone. Right? Simple things done well work well. Usually people try to do the complicated things because they're not doing the simple things well. They think they're not getting results because simple doesn't work. Duh. The hardest things to do are the simple things because there's nowhere to hide. You're either doing it well or you're not. So simple things done well work well. The other is try to achieve the most while doing the least. If you're teaching, if you have a kid or what, or here, whatever, my role is to get you to the point where you take up the learning and then you go with it. I want to stop as soon as you start. I don't want to take over the responsibility. I want to give you your responsibility, and I want to propel or give you that opportunity. As soon as you start to get it, I better back off. Otherwise, I'm going to screw it up. Because the point is for you to get it. Once you get it, you got it. Once you got it, then you apply it. Then it's yours. So with the brain signaling, it's the same thing. Bring it to the brain just to the point where the brain starts to get it, and then back off. Let the brain do what it does. And then it owns it. Doing it, Ford, it's like this micromanaging of raising kids that I see all over the place. It drives me insane. Like, back off. Just let the kid, if they want to flap around, let them flap, for God's sakes. They'll realize it's not that much fun and they're going to stop. Instead of, oh, darling dear, it's like, yeah, that's what happens when you're a grandparent, right? Anyway. A question? There was something somewhere.
I've got.
Yes, sir.
So, the 4 basic skills,
Four basic exercises.
Coordination, flexibility, endurance, strength.
Correct.
With recent brain scans with trauma victims,
Yes.
they're noticing certain areas go offline in related stimulus to the trauma.
Yes.
Which of those 4 does that fall under, or does that come later in the coordination, in the brain skills? If somebody's got that, which of the 4 categories do you need to look at most quickly?
Always coordination.
Okay.
Because, if you're in charge of the marching band and there are 200 people marching around, coordinating multiple actions simultaneously is the most difficult task of all. And that's in the brain. That's the fundamental. If you're going to choose one of the 4, and I'll repeat myself to make the point, if I wanted to make it as simple as possible, I would have just one button. And it would be, this is brain exercise. But what it would be is foundation level coordination. Because when you study the brain and you look at all the different elements of normal brain and abnormal brain, or well or aging brain, this coordination thing, the ability to change the degree of change is at the, I don't know what to call it, it's like at the root of the others, because one is degree of change with complexity, but it's still a degree of change, and the rate of change, I don't know, I'm trying to explain it too much. when we talk in a little while about brain networks, that's the other half of the answer to that question. Because it's a combination of simple signals and simple networks. It's a combination of two things. And this, I don't want to make this sound really complicated, because it can be really complicated or it can be simple. And the fact is, this is a lot more simple than you think, if you think it's complicated. Because there are only 4 exercises. It's like you walk into the gymnasium, there's like 4 machines. Well, okay. What's this one for? Coordination, flexibility, endurance, and strength. Look at them, or ask them a couple questions. Almost like that, you're going to know where their weakness is. And if you can't figure it out, it's hard to go wrong. Any one of them is going to give benefit. Maybe not the maximum benefit, but none of them can hurt them. So you can't make a wrong decision. You can just make a decision that it isn't as accurate as it could be. And if you really don't know, choose coordination. You always win with coordination. Yes?
Could you do 2 of them? Or
Yeah.
one of them?
You could do one, choose 11 minutes. Give them a 5-10 minute break. Like I always say, eat the meal, let it digest, or begin to digest. And then do another one. Well, we're not doing, a hot to trot interval training here. We're not doing surge training. But this is kind of built on interval training. Because I have a lot of training related to sports medicine, and actually these 4 things are the fundamentals in conditioning in sports right now.
Yeah. Can you do it every day?
Yes, you can. You can do it every day. You don't need to do it every day. Athletes that train tend to have 2 or 3 hard days, a couple of easy days, and 1 or 2 days off. And that cycle maximizes the benefit. The old idea that the more you exercise, the more the benefit, we know how stupid that was. Crash, right? You reach this stage, and basically, like 3 days out of 7, you could do the brain food with 1 11-minute on coordination and 1 11-minute on another one that you think is fine. Give them a break. Call that a hard day. Then the next day you do the brain food and just 1 11-minute. And so you do like 3 hard days, 2 easy days, and 2 days off. You get great results. Because, this is like you are exercising. This is not like the esoteric mind. This is the physical brain. It follows the behaviors of your body as a whole. So everything you've learned about how to get good stuff going with your body is probably going to work to get good stuff going with your brain, because your brain is your body. It's like, oh, never thought it was like that easy. But why do you think sports training is the way it is? It's because that's the way the brain is. Why is music the way it is? That's the way the brain is. So when it comes to the brain gym, I want you to explore, do for yourself, see what it's like. And if you want to do 2 in a row, that's okay. But give a break in the middle. This is like a multi-course meal. If it's a 2-course meal, it's like, here's your soup, and on their last spoon they say, here's your salad. They say, whoa, back off. Right? Give me a minute here. Let me enjoy, let me integrate or digest or whatever you want to call it. It's like that. One of the things you've heard me say is that the actual effect begins when the light and sound signaling ends. The phenomenology of the experience is the signaling. The effect of the signaling begins when the signaling ends. When you finish eating, that's when digestion begins. So you can have an experience which is rock on. Like, I don't know what it was like for you under there. How would you describe what you experienced?
Well, it was big fun. It was really interesting. I played with moving my eyes around inside the images, and that was cool.
Okay, but that's what that was, right? Now, here you are. And I said for the next period, especially capping off at 2 hours, this is the time when the state change is going to be going on. You seem okay to me. How do you feel?
I'm much better than when I walked in.
Yeah.
I got late. I was late because I didn't trust myself to get in the car and drive. I was
Okay.
like that. So now I'm feeling perky. I'm
Oh, well, look.
curious.
I mean, look, she's sitting up, she's erect, look at her face, listen to the tone, listen to the speech rhythm. That's an example of using a brain skill as a help right now, where you make an assessment as to the neuroplastic capacity. You don't overshoot the mark, you kind of stay in the pocket, and you know that when it finishes, 10, 20, 30 minutes later, the state change is occurring. It's going to round out. You've got a big fat opportunity for the first 2 hours, if you want to reinforce it. And it's going to cycle using the meridial clock 12 to 24 hours out. It's not a learned state. It's not going to make her any better tomorrow, but it changes a state right now along the vector of the brain skill. That's fine. When you do the brain gym, and you're having the experience, you may like it or you may not. I don't really care. It's like, I'm the exercise trainer, this is the gym, you need this, we're going to do it, this is what it's like. Some people like exercising, some people hate exercising, but if they want to move towards a complex skill set, and they have these weaknesses, suck it up. For you, if you're doing it as a service, what you've got to do is you've got to put it into a context of neuroplasticity. You've got to, in a sense, educate / sell this person on the fact of the importance of this. And if they're really a hard nut, because some people want to prove you wrong, they're going to show you that you're going to fail because nobody can help me, stay away from them, right? But if they're on the fence, okay, give them some juice, toss them some fun, give them something that is elevating, if that's what they want, or if they're like, cat scratch on the board, okay, chill them out, and they say, whoa, that's fantastic, that's great. You say, yeah, we've got a lot more of that waiting for you, but we've got to build you up. So if this is just the taste, that's just the icing on the cake. If you want the whole cake, come on and do your exercises. And we'll talk more tomorrow about integrating what they can do out of that. So if you have a Neurolite and you've not spent much time in the brain gym, do it for yourself. Kind of get a feel of what's it like. And what you'll notice is that the sound element has a great deal of neutrality in it, because in the brain gym exercises, I really have to focus the brain on that skill, on that signal. So I don't do a lot of mood framing. Mood framing, you work when you want to kind of ease a person in a certain direction, like a music theme for a movie. The music, you're not really aware of it, but it sets a mood. It's a mood frame for what's going to happen. In the brain gym, it's not like that. You could say it's boring because it's not supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed